Hello and welcome to the Just Mates podcast, where we aim to destigmatise men not speaking up about mental health. Remember to follow our social pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Just Mates Pod. You can listen to and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor and Apple Podcast. All the links are provided in the description. Also, we have noticed recently that a lot of people have said that they resonate with our podcast, especially as we target men specifically, but it is an open podcast to everyone and we want to help as many people as we can. So moving forward, this is episode 25 and we are here together virtually as always.
Yep, never in person, ever.
It's very horrible. I think I want to get to the point where we can do these together in person.
Yeah, it's lockdown at the moment, mate, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Today's episode is going to be about budgeting and finances in a sense. We're going to lead on to the ways that budgeting and debt and controlling your money can affect your mental health and which order they come in. Is it mental health deteriorating first or is it your debts coming first?
I think I'll lead on from that and what debt kind of does to you, because I've experienced it in a way from finishing university, not your traditional student finance thing, because that doesn't technically come out of your bank account until you I think it's like 25 grand or something now, isn't it now?
Yeah, it's increased.
Yeah, but I can talk to you in the sense of debt from obviously there's generalized bills that come out and like car insurance and phone bill and all that, blah blah blah. Everybody's got that to an extent, but what I can talk to you about is when I finished uni, I was like 2 grand out into my overdraft, and it took me a whole year to get out of it, and it was just, seeing that negative figure for such a long time was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it's like what that does to your mental state being in a minus is it really messes with your head, because it feels like I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't have enough, I can't do all these amazing things. And then when you come out and you go into the positive, it's like, oh, I'm out of that, I'm free.
I guess it's do you feel like at that point it was a sense of losing control of things? And I know that obviously finance is a big thing for a lot of people, and not having control over what you can spend or how much money's coming in or going out, or like what your money is being spent on, that can kind of dehumanize you.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? Like in terms of how do I explain this?
As you was experiencing that debt.
Yeah, I don't know, because like when I got into second year of uni, that's when I started to get into the minus, even though I was working. So like obviously going out and stuff and buying things, like it would just gradually go down and down and down, and it's like, am I ever going to get out of this? And then when you finish uni, when I finished it, it just made me feel a bit crap, to be honest. Like there's no other way to put it. It's just like I felt a bit worthless with that minus figure and stuff. But I got out of it, and I've to be fair to myself, like I've got a lot of savings now in the plus figure, being smart with money. And I guess that's where I kind of wanted to take this podcast, is to like give you some of my tips. Yeah. So when I got out of my overdraft, I kind of thought I need to be careful with money, but I need to do it in such a way which is like bulletproof, because I've got a couple of mates that have accumulated a lot of financial problems, especially around in their 20s, because they've had credit cards and stuff, and they've just gone out and spent loads of crap. I think it kind of helps that I'm not materialistic at all.
Yeah.
And I won't go out I'm the type of person that'll go out and be like, even if I've got ripped trousers at home, I won't buy new trousers, that type of thing, unless I'm feeling it or I've got the money. I won't purposely go out my way for it. But I read a book, which is the one I wanted to sort of lead on with and discuss with you now, because it's an amazing one. And I would highly suggest anybody get it. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. Sounds like a weird and stupid title. It really does. But what it does is it gives you some overarching lessons in the book to teach you how to be safe with money.
Okay, yeah.
And I can read. I can list out a couple of lessons. So the first lesson is pay yourself first. So it's kind of, this is the first one. So it's like whatever you earn, even if you've got bills, pay yourself first automatically. Put like, this is what I've done every month. Even if I know I've got bills, I'm going to struggle. Maybe I have to sell a few things, whatnot, to pay the bills. I always pay myself first to make sure that I do have some savings, because it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Like, so that's what I do. So that's been brilliant. And live within your means is another one. Don't go and buy things that aren't necessities. And I think the book told me about 10% of your earnings should be going into your savings, minimum.
Yeah.
Absolute minimum. And over time, like that really builds. Like I was putting in like 40% of my wage in my savings, 30%, 40%. But now I'm doing like 20%. And it really does stack up. And then the third lesson is put your money to work. So this is kind of like talking about investing and stuff, which I don't really want to go into. But that's important later in life. Keeping your money safe. So which is lesson 4, which is sort of about learning about unsafe investments and where essentially not to invest or put your money.
Yeah, where to put your money.
Yeah, exactly. The fifth one is kind of it's a bit of, I didn't really like this lesson because it's kind of like duh, but it's be a homeowner. So that's bloody hard in England. That's bloody hard. And they're basically saying own the house and it'll reduce your cost of living. Well, it's like, well, duh, but that's easier said than done. But
exactly,
I suppose it makes sense.
I think if you roll all of them up, it's all to do with mindset, because until you have the mindset to budget your money, budget your finances, budget your expenses and all of that, you won't think to do that. And there's a lot of people out there that, not that this is a bad thing because everyone's different, that don't mind just literally living paycheck to paycheck, or they don't have the means to live outside of that, and basically they buy what they see. If they like it, they get it, and that's it. They're happy with that. Whereas people like us, I guess, we kind of want to see a return of the money that we earn. We don't want it to just obviously we buy things here and there, but I think we have the mindset of where even if we've got the money, we'll say we don't have the money. I think, like, it's like, what's the saying? It's about being broke, act broke, but silently rich or something.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
So, I mean, there's a lot of times where I've probably had the means to buy something and I've just chosen not to. Yeah. And that's not because I can't afford to, it's because I don't want to.
It's a habit, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's definitely a habit. And especially with me having, since I've left school, I've had a job since I left school. Obviously now with Corona, the first time since that I'm not earning or working, but I'm able to get by because of the money that I've saved.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not struggling still, and like, God forbid I do ever, and I'm hoping that something will fall through soon job wise. But the reason I'm okay now financially is because I was smart enough to put money aside. Yeah,
and I'm guessing you have a couple of mates, if you're similar to me, that are just absolutely crap with money.
Yeah, of course. There's nobody, not everybody is going to have the same mindset as you. But I think what's helped me is one of my really good friends from home. He's always been smart with his money. He's been a money head literally since he's probably was born. And being around that kind of person kind of changed the way I live as well. So yeah. I kind of like managed my finances, or was careful with what I buy, what I do. I mean, he was the one that kind of instigated me opening my ISA account as well. He was always on to me about it. And I think it's just having them people around you kind of helps as well mentally.
Yeah, but that's good. I guess, yeah, people. I think this is why a lot of people in relationships or marriages kind of it falls apart. A lot of it finances because one person or both parties can't they're just living beyond their means.
Yeah, and I think maybe in that situation, there's one partner over the other is more reliant on having more things, and the other one doesn't want to spend the money, and then you get problems within the relationship of arguing, like, why are you spending this money, or why can't I spend this money, kind of thing. And that leads on to obviously further issues within mental health and stress and just anxiety as well.
So I was just going to tail off on the last couple of lessons in this, but don't worry, there's not too many more. So there's one called Insure Your Future Income. So this is kind of like insurance on things. So like life insurance, homeowners insurance, long-term care insurance. So it's like protecting your money essentially, or hedging your bets, probably is what I call it. Improve your skills to earn more. So this is kind of just like, how do I say this? It's just learning more about finance, I'd imagine, and just how to build wealth. So that's a really good book. I kind of want to I don't want to talk too much about it because the title of this isn't this book, you know. But it's just, I think the biggest takeaway for me, and that is just don't live beyond your means and save at least 10% of your wages every month and watch how much it builds and pay. Get these debts instantly, get rid of them.
It's just like, for example, like, and this is common in a lot of people, is imagine there's tons of people out there that say they work in London or commute to a certain place or wherever they are in the world, and on their way to work they'll buy a £3 coffee or a £4 coffee every day. Yeah. And I was probably guilty of doing something similar to this, like around lunchtime as well. But imagine. And that's obviously knowing that you can afford that coffee. You get that, don't you? But imagine putting that £3, just generally, just putting £3 a day instead of buying that coffee and having instant coffee at home, or reducing it from 5 days a week to 1 day a week. Instead of thinking in your head that I'm not going to have a coffee, think in your mind that money that I was spending, let me just put that away as if I was spending it.
So I'm just doing some maths at the moment. So that's £60 a month.
Yeah.
Over 10 months, £720 a month if you're just going to get coffees. I think my maths is right.
Wait, 3 times 5, 15, 15 times 4, 60.
No, yeah. So it'd be £60 over 10 months. Over 12 months, it would be 720 quid, right?
Yeah. So imagine that's just, it's always the little £3, £5 here and there that accumulate that you realise, shit, I've spent so much money this month and I didn't even realise. And a lot of it is, I think that so many people give this tip in regards to finances, is you eliminate your impulsive buying. So things that you see that, I could do with this, or I see something online and I fancy getting this. That impulsive buying nature can lead to so much financial stress.
Yeah, 100%. This is kind of why I like the fact that I don't care what clothes I wear to an extent.
Yes, of course, and it's a level of not snobbiness, but I think a lot of people take pride in what they wear because of their mental health as well. They feel like that's the only thing that kind of makes them feel healthy. So I don't want to detract from people using that as a mean of feeling good about themselves. But if a financial worry is taking strain on you and you feel like everything's on top of you, that there are things that you can make room for and allow yourself to just spend a little less on this just so you can have a little more here.
Yeah, that's true. And just be, I don't know, don't blow it all in 1 month, spread it out over a couple of months if you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that probably tend to look at a high figure item that they want to buy. And I think I used to do this when I was a kid, or when I was younger, sorry. I'd earn obviously every month, and then So I'd spend like 3-4 months earning a certain amount just so I can buy this big item. So for example, it be a camera or a console or whatever. But sometimes I would get to that point of having saved that money, and instead of buying it, I'd realize that in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I've managed to save this amount of money just to buy this. So do I even need it? And then I ended up saving that money.
Yeah, I've done that with a few things. And it's, I was planning to save up for something, but now that money's going towards my mortgage, so.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really important. And the friend that I'm referencing from here is he's got money pot. He's got saving accounts within his normal account, but he's named them different things. So one of them used to be his pet insurance. One of them was car spending, like MOT, service, insurance. Another one was house spendings. Another one was direct debits. And just balancing your income to know where your money's actually going to go can make you realise that, I don't have enough money this month to spend on X, so I'm going to save it for Y and Z. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't. I'm not really like that. I've got how many accounts? I think I've got 2 or 3 savings. I should know this. 2 savings accounts and 1 current account, and I guess that's the extent of where I take it. But I know the exact dates and when money's coming out, and like just predicting exactly when in the month money comes out. Even that really helps.
And even now, Sam, that there's all these outgoings that you have, you can actually ring these companies and tell them, I want this money to come out on this date. So you can say for example, you want all your money to come out on the 1st of the month because you get paid a week before, just so you know that when that week's passed, you know what money's coming out, and you know that for 3 weeks I've got this to live on.
Yeah, that's what I've done with like my rent and my phone and actually my car as well. So yeah, that helps. So as soon as I get paid, well, my car, not my car, that's a lie. But as soon as I get paid, I do the calculation every month. Like, this is what I've got for this. This is what I've got for that. I know how much savings I'm going to be putting in here. So yeah, it does help, especially in lockdown, man. Like, what are you going to spend it on? You know?
Exactly. And do you know what? I've been a victim of nearly buying so many things online, like clothes or whatever, trainers or whatever. But I've actually stopped myself so much recently, and that's only because normally I'd have gone into the shop and bought it. But I've actually stopped myself from looking online as well now. And the only thing I really spend my money on now is if I do eat out and get a delivery, like say Subway or something, or if I'm spending money on fuel.
Yeah, that's a great point. But also, not really, but I think it's a good thing to say. Like, I think it was good you mentioned about the whole clothes thing, about it makes people feel good to buy things. I bought the new Xbox, right, for 450 quid because I never treat myself. So it's like, if you never treat yourself and then you get to that point of eventually treating yourself, it makes you feel like, oh, this is actually worthwhile.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think I remember, and I'm only remembering this because you said console. When I left uni, or was it when I left uni, or might have been before, but basically I think it was second year maybe, and I just wanted to treat myself, and I never bought anything big during uni. I wasn't really like anything, I didn't really buy anything massive, and as soon as I left uni, or second year, when second year finished, I treated myself to a PS4. And that was a big expense in one go, but that was because I had allowed myself to earn enough money throughout the years and not spend it to blow that money in one go, and I didn't have to worry if I had any money left over or not.
Yeah, see, yeah, that's a good point. You just have to think that, like, do I have enough money? Is there a safety net just in case something else goes wrong? If so, screw it. Disposable income, then if you can afford it and it makes you feel good, then go for it.
Exactly. And I think a big thing to go forward for a lot of people would be, say if something's worth £200, don't save up to £200 and then buy the item. I would save double that, so you could you could essentially buy 2 of the product, just so that when you actually do buy it, you've got money to play with.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So, or even in your head, even though you know something's worth £200, just tell yourself, actually, I'm telling myself it's worth £500. So I can't buy this until I have £500.
Yeah, or just buy 2. No, joking.
Or no, don't do that. Well, buy 2 and then resell it, just like people are doing with the PS4s.
Yeah.
5s even.
Yeah. You, before the pod, you gave me some statistics about mental health for finance and budgeting. Have you got them?
Yeah, so, okay, this was literally, it was quite shocking, really. And we always find this, like when we do these topics and do our research, these stats are quite horrible, really. Okay, so I'll go with this. It says almost 1 in 5, which is 18% of people with mental health problems are in problem debt. People experiencing mental health problems are 3.5 times more likely to be in problem debt than people without mental health problems. So what it's saying is, essentially, if you suffer from some sort of mental health disorder, it kind of ruins your whole thought process, and it can lead to more debt and more financial troubles. Yeah. Another one was 46% of people in problem debt also have a mental health problem. Now, what I find interesting is, I want to ask you this, Sam, and maybe people in listening can answer this within themselves. In what order does it come? Do you feel like the debt comes first, or do you feel like the mental health issues cause the debt?
Both. I've had both circumstances, mate. I've had both things. So it's a chicken and the egg question, mate.
Yeah, it is. I feel like they come quite hand in hand.
Yeah,
but they can be instances, or there can be instances like, imagine if you're living a happy life and everything else is actually okay, like you're happy with things how they are, but say you break up with someone. You break up with this person and it leads to you kind of going on a downward path, and you forget about outgoings, and you forget that you've got this to pay for this month, this to pay for that month, and it eventually turns into debt. Now, obviously, once that debt comes, that's one more stress added onto your problems. And then I feel like a lot of people take this on face value and think, well, he must be spending, or she must be spending loads of money, which is why they're not able to manage their debt. But a lot of this is just inside your head as well. Like you physically can't get your head in gear to manage these things going on.
I think that's why it's so important, especially for young guys listening to this, or even girls, man, to be honest, like anybody young, to have the right mindset early on, because once you get in that debt hole, it's bloody hard to get out. So it's, be careful. It's like this whole kid thing that we talked about, mate. Like if you're going to have a kid, you got to consider that kid's going to cost you 60 to 100,000. What was it, over like 15 to 18 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Like that's a big decision. The same with like if you're going to rent somewhere, if you're going to buy a house, if you're going to get a new fancy car with their insurance is more or something. Just think about these things before you commit. I think that is a big thing for people, and on the other hand, there's people that are scared of the commitment. So instead of actually saving up for, like you just said, a house or property or whatever, and committing to it, they actually go into the opposite direction, and they don't have a plan, and they don't have something to save for, so they just live as they do, and they just spend as they earn. This is sometimes like what I ask myself before I buy things, like most of the time, really. If it's like you know what I mean? If I say like, this is a term coined in marketing theory in academia, before you purchase things, so there's low involvement or high involvement. right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
low involvement is more or less kind of impulse buying. Like, I don't know, like maybe you want to buy a deodorant can or a Twix or something that's like, do you know what I mean when I say inelastic? So like you're not responsive to the price if there was like a price change. So it's like you go in, you buy it on a whim, screw it, whatever. Whereas a high involvement would be like you have to think about it a lot. So it could be like a car, it'd be a home, blah blah blah. So I always, with high involvement purchases, I always, and sometimes with low involvement purchases, I always say to myself, like, what benefit is this giving?
Yeah. I think that's also, it's important to have that mindset, like, do I really need this kind of thing? But then I think a lot of us naturally want to live to a lifestyle where we don't have to worry about the money we're spending. But the biggest takeaway is until you are at that point, do not live beyond your means. So if you can't afford something, don't give in to societal stress, societal expectations that you should have these things. If you can't afford it, simply don't buy it. Like it's ironic really, like I don't know if you've heard these stories or seen these tweets before, like you'll see someone iced up with really like expensive jewelry, designer gear, but they're going to step on a bus, and that money that they've spent on all of this materialistic stuff they could have invested in driving lessons. Do you know what I mean? Like people live just to look good.
You do find that, really. I mean, because the people that I've seen that dress like really flash a lot of the time, in about 90 to 80% of the cases, are flat broke. Whereas the people that I've earned money and they're like I've met a couple of millionaires, you know, they don't care what they wear. They just
and
whatever.
Do you know what? A few of my friends are. Do you know what? One of them is especially like this. They have money sitting in their account, right? But they will just wear M&S clothes, or they'll just wear the plain bog standard clothes because they don't take pride in that sense of like how they look in that way. Like they don't look bad. I'm not saying they look bad, but they'd rather spend that money on something else with more of a return.
Yeah, and that's the best, to me, that's the best mindset to have, really, especially early on in young stuff. Like, you don't want to be blowing your finances on like clothes and stuff, and you got a family and like, or you go on like loads of luxury holidays. I think there's kind of, I've noticed, because I went to a school with a bunch of rich kids, right? And the rich kids, their dads and their mums like earn like a shit ton of money, and apart from the whole mindset of, oh, daddy will just pay for it for me, right? It's kind of like, or that tails off until when they're older, I'd imagine, where it's like, oh, daddy will pay this for me. Oh, daddy will pay this for me.
Yeah,
but it's
on a
like,
silver spoon.
Yeah, it is. And you do kind of get a bit bitter with that. But in the long run, for them, like, that money will just dissipate and they won't be able to control it. So like daddy's money will only go so far unless he's like Bill Gates or something, you know. Eventually, like whether it's your current generation or like your kids, that money's going to go because you'll teach the same lessons to your kids. And it's, say for argument's sake, Naf, if your dad was a millionaire and you didn't have the fundamental principles to look after your money, and then your kid, there's a chance that your kids that by the time it gets to your kids, that money would have gone. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, or even if it was still there, I don't have the means of knowing how to manage my finances in this situation. Yeah. And that goes on to my kids, and then they learn that way as well. And then there'll be a point where there's no money to give over and the person will not know what to do.
Yeah, and this goes on to that. You know, I made the point about I don't know the actual facts or anything, but in the NFL, I watched like a podcast where this was mentioned. So they call it not for long for a reason, because the average career span is about 3 to 4. I think it's 3 years, 3 to 4, 5 years, something like that. Anyway, for like sports, that's quite sure because they obviously sustain injuries, blah 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 blah. It's really competitive. What they do when they get that first paycheck from the NFL, and these players make millions, so it could be like 1 or 2 million, they buy like an expensive house, right, and a sports car. But after their career finishes, after 2 or 3 years. Maybe they get an injury in the first year. They can't afford that car. They can't afford that house, and they're stuck. They're either stuck in the debt, or they just don't know how to grow their money and stuff. Like, someone needs to go into that, like that type of sport, and be like, right, here's your money. This is what we're going to do with it.
It's just about distributing it rather than putting it all into one thing, really. And like, I think there is this stat, and I've lived by this because of my friend, and the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. So that means that whatever they're earning 7 times round. So they're not just relying on one source of income. So, for example, what I'm trying to say is, with that NFL player, say if he does spend all that money on the house, he's now not getting a return on that, because
sells it.
Exactly. And now that the property of the house might get more expensive and it might inflate. But if he'd have spent it on like 3 or 4 properties, or maybe a property and a business, that business could now be making revenue from the money that he's invested, and he could get maybe a smaller house. But I think they're not taught this.
Nobody's taught this. This is the problem, mate. This is not taught in school at all. And it's like, this comes from a book that I read. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? I won't go into the whole concept of the book, but it's basically the whole idea is, this guy has 2 dads, okay? Dad 1 is kind of like his actual biological father, and Dad 2 is his friend. I believe it's his friend's dad. And the poor dad is this academic who's got a PhD. He works like stupid hours, living paycheck to paycheck. And that's kind of what you're taught in school, get a degree, earn a living, pay your bills, die. Whereas this rich dad guy he owns businesses. He like you said, like several streams of income and stuff. And it's quite ironic in a sense, because what they teach you in school is to do exactly what the academic father did, and look where that's landed him. Like, he's got debt and shit. Like, he can't pay anything off, but he's got all these qualifications and stuff. It's like, and I'm not like negating, don't get a degree, because I think, if you're gonna get it, I think it's a great idea. But this is shit they just don't teach you. And admittedly,
and I think fundamentally, like in that age, Sam, when you're a kid, if you looked back, do you really want to be taught that? And do you think that kids will actually process what they're being taught? Like, can you really imagine a group of year 11s listening to finances? And I think that's just how the curriculum works. Like, they don't feel like the kids at that age are developed enough to engage in that kind of conversation.
I think so, mate. If you dumb it down, right? If you made it could be optional, or a core GCSE, or whatever. Core GCSE that just teaches you basics. The basics, how to save your money. These are assets, these are liabilities, these are expenses, this is blah 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 blah. This is how you...
And then whoever actually wants to take away from that can, and they can do whatever. At least there's a platform for you to gain knowledge from without actually having to force it out of the world.
Yeah, you could so easily teach that to kids. Like, it's like, like, you want to afford this? Good. This is how you do it. And I would listen. I would have listened in school to that. But
so would I have. That's the thing. And like I said, it is all based on people that you're around that influence how you spend your money, or what you spend your money on. Because if you've got a group of, say, if you're for example, the poorest out of the group of your friends, you're going to look at your friends that are spending all this money, or they're buying the newest game, or newest like top, the seasonal top, or whatever it is, and you're going to think, well, I want to have them things too, and it makes you more of a materialistic person. Whereas I've been around people that can afford that but haven't spent the money on it, so it's kind of taught me that that I should manage what I'm spending. And it is just all about who you are around, really. That's all I can say. And it's annoying because the world takes things off of face value. And Sam, you say this every week in, week out. You could look at someone with a £300 watch and then think they're literally doing so well, whereas they might have spent their last paycheck spending out on that £300 watch, whereas the person next to him who's wearing maybe a Casio or something has actually saved £300 in that month.
Yeah, and I do see, you do see that a lot as well. What other stats have you got, mate? Have you got any more?
So 5,500 people were surveyed with this about mental health and problem debt and mental health and financial debt. 72% of 5,500 people said that their mental health problems had made their financial situation worse. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it's so easy for us to say, "Oh, just snap out of it. Don't buy things on like an impulsive nature." But there's so many people that don't have the means to just actually process that it's not a good thing to do.
Well, you could put it in a very simple context, right? Like your whole scenario with going to work. And I've done this so many times, and I did it all the way throughout uni. I've done it at our previous job. Bloody hell, I did it this week. It's like I'm stressed at work. I can't function. I need to get a pick me up. And it's
that is it. That's a great reference. A pick me up. Yeah, I need a pick-me-up to get me through the day. And that pick-me-up could be a coffee, and that accumulates. I've done that so much that I've probably spent, a good couple of grand just on that impulse, just on that emotional clouding of your thought, because you just can't rationalize, and you don't want to rationalize because you just want to get through the day. I think do you know what it is? It's strange, but we go through like a situation and 90% of it is stress, and we do that just to get 10% of happiness. But then what do we get from that? Like, it's so horrible, really, because we do everything we can just for a little inkling of happiness, and then it's gone just like that.
Yeah, and it's very hard to have that saving mindset as well, because you can get FOMO and stuff with fear of missing out, fear of not buying things, like blah blah, and that can put like a strain on how you feel. But at the same time, in the long run, is that financial impact of buying these possessions or whatever it may be, is that going to have more an impact on you, like long term, or is the short term benefit better for you? Like,
I think it's actually being in that process of thinking like that, though. When you're, like you said, your judgment is clouded when you are like feeling this way. But I think people need to learn their triggers, and they might need to, maybe if they are having a bad month financially and they're thinking, "Oh, I can't be bothered, I'm just going to buy this, I'm going to buy that." But the following month, they should reflect on that and maybe look back at things that they've spent their money on, just so that they don't make it a reoccurring pattern. And that could be something that you could like work yourself towards. So, for example, like I used the coffee reference earlier, instead of buying a coffee every day of the week, maybe take 2 days out. And then eventually you'll go to 1 day a week. And then eventually you'll start taking coffee from home or whatever the situation. And you just have to shift a habit.
Yeah. And that's hard, and it's always great to have like a vision of something that you're looking forward to purchasing. Like if you want to buy I don't know if it's going to be useful, a car. If you're going to buy a house, like start looking at houses, start looking at cars, get an actual figure in your head, and like you said, Naf, like go above it.
Yeah,
because you just don't know what could happen in that time with like inflation and prices. Say if it's like over like a 5-year time span, you don't know how much that price is going to rise. So,
I think often looking at things that are like expensive like that, like a dream car or a location where the houses are quite expensive, I think it kind of gives you a nudge in the right direction, sometimes knowing that you can't afford it yet. because
Yeah.
it makes you plan better as well. Like, you're thinking to yourself, at the moment it will take me 7 years to earn this amount of money to be able to afford this car, whereas when you keep looking at that and realizing, well, I don't want to wait 7 years, you'll do so much more in 7 years, and by the time that 7 years comes, you'll have double the amount that you initially wanted to save.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. And watching that money come into your account, like physically or like doing it automatically, however you want to do it, seeing that money accumulate, it's a really nice feeling.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of and that is, or it can be your source of a pick me up, really, instead of that impulsive buying of the game or the scarf that you've seen or the top. Having a long term kind of goal, and then waiting, actually being patient. I think that's the biggest thing. It's being patient to see the return on what you're saving for, can give you such a mental health boost.
I think that's like that you could almost put patience as the title of this, because that encapsulates everything to do with finance. You know, I don't want to go into it because it's too
integrated.
Yeah, it's way too whatever, but compound interest, like the fundamental principles like that, if you understand that in the long run.
But it's being taught that, like, there's probably 90% of listeners, not to make them feel like a dummy, but even I didn't initially properly know this until we spoke about it and I did some research. But a lot of people don't know this, and it goes back to the point of you saying, if you're not taught it, maybe do your own research. But if you are initially in school taught about these little keywords, these things that you can link back to, when it comes to situations like this, buying a house or investing in property, you'll always already have that mindset of, oh, well, I remembered that I learned compound interest in school, let me apply that here.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be teaching my kids, you know, like even when they're doing their, you know, GCSEs or even like year 9 or something. It's like, here's the principles that you must learn, because I wasn't told these things, and if you know these things, you become dangerous.
Yeah,
like, seriously dangerous.
And it is just a shift of mindset, like you said about earlier, where you went to school, you had the group of rich kids or whatever, and their daddy paid for everything. I think we all, realistically, Sam, like, we want to be the kind of parents that can afford everything and anything our kids want.
Definitely.
But essentially, we also want to give them the mindset that they have to earn what they're getting. So I'm not just going to give them the best lifestyle without them having actually worked for it, but I'm still not going to be in a position where I'm going to make them look poor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the whole thing Jackie Chan did to his, I think it's definitely Jackie Chan, did to his son. Did you hear about that?
Didn't he make him work in a supermarket or something?
No, it's worse than that. Like, he gave him no money at all, ever. Made him work for everything. And I don't know. I could be making this up in my head completely, but I think Jackie Chan gave his money to charity or something and just didn't give it to his kid because he thought he'd make him work.
Okay. So that can be kind of detrimental, though.
Yeah, like that's complete extreme. But even that, you could kind of see what, you know, that would shift a mindset, wouldn't it? Massively.
Yeah, of course. But I think when you grow up and the child knows that, oh, my mum and dad actually have this amount of money and I'm so used to getting what I want, it kind of changes how they grow up and how they think about finances, because then they realise that, well, I don't have to put in the extra work to get this, but I know that my mum and dad are there. Whereas I kind of want to give my kids, obviously, eventually when that happens, the mindset that, yes, you've got this here, but I want you to realise that you still have to do 100% of the work to get this. It's not just coming from nothing.
Yeah, it's and I think this is kind of what my mum used to do for me, like, and my granddad and stuff. I mean, I did get, you know, paid for doing some chores and stuff, like some chores, but making your kids do work like unpaid is so useful. Like, it was useful to me, because like, that's kind of what you have to do later in life. because like to pay your bills. So get used to it. You have to do it. Whereas if you're just working and you expect money at the end as a kid, it's like that's kind of not how life works, because you have to pay bills, and as a kid you don't have to pay bills.
And it's all about gratitude as well, though, Sam. As well as being grateful for everything you have. Like, I know that since I was 16, like I said, since I was 15, 16, I've left school, I got a job straight away. And that wasn't because I had to, it was because I didn't want to rely on anyone. And ever since then, like I can't remember, and I don't want to jinx it, and God forbid I'm ever in a position where I'm having to worry about it. And even now, being in lockdown and not having a job, I'm still not financially unstable. But I can't remember the time I've ever been like, I don't have enough money for this. I can't buy what I want, or I can't pay for the outgoings that are coming out of my account. I've worked my whole way up to this point where I don't have to worry about that. And I want my kids to be that same thing. Even if they're 16, 17 and I've got hundreds of thousands in the account, I don't want them to think that they can just have that.
Yeah,
I think I keep going on to that point. I think it's all about being appreciative of what you've got, and even when you earn something and when you work for it, it's so much more nicer than just being given it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. If you feel a bit fraudulent, wouldn't you? If it's bought you.
So yeah, I guess this one was more about how budgeting can affect your mental health, and maybe I guess we can call this kind of like a financial tips and advice kind of podcast.
Yeah, although we're absolutely in no way, shape or form like qualified.
No, not at all.
Like that type of advice. What I mean, I do have a level 2 accounting technician qualification, which I got at college, but that was like what?
I don't think we can go off with that though, Sam.
No, I don't think we can, to be honest.
But no, I think we just wanted to put our own little perspective on things and how we save, and maybe just not to take things on face value, and just be a bit more cautious with how you spend your money, because even if you're not thinking about it at a young age, when you get older, it's going to be a problem, or it's going to be something that's a big factor in your life. So shifting your mindset from a young age to not worry, but be careful and know what you're putting your money into and spending it on just goes a long way, really.
Yeah, and don't gamble.
Well, yeah, don't gamble. I just want to list a few of these things, and it says these are the side effects financial stress can lead to. And if I list them, I guess it can kind of trigger people to think, well, I'm suffering from these factors. Maybe it's because I need to get my finances in order. I'll name them all and then I'll talk about them. So it's insomnia, weight gain or loss, depression, anxiety, relationship difficulties, social withdrawal, physical ailments, unhealthy coping methods. So I guess on the insomnia part, it says nothing will keep you tossing and turning at night more than worrying about unpaid bills or a loss of income. So I guess if you feel like you're stressing and you're not able to sleep, or you're worrying so much at night because you're thinking about what's coming out of your account, I think it's just a time that you can reflect on things and try and change your habits.
And go through, I mean, if you have online banking, which everybody does these days, just go on, add up what you're spending each month on like clothing and food and drink, like accumulate it. So say you have like financial statements over the past like year, like add it up on average, see how much you're spending, and then
I mean, it can be a couple of hours of extra groundwork, but it can help you so much in the long run in understanding, because a lot of people spend money and don't understand what they're doing, really. They just do it. They don't know the value of the money they're spending. So just having that little reflection of going through your finances, and in no way, shape or form are we saying that it's just going to go just like that, but there are ways that you can relieve or alleviate stress. Weight gain or loss was stress can disrupt your appetite, causing you to anxiously overeat or skip meals to save money. So I guess this is a big thing. There's, especially nowadays, there's so many food banks available. Don't feel a loss of pride that you have to do these things just to get by. There's so many people that don't have the means of money coming in that can actually save. Some people have to live month by month, but I think it's just looking for the support systems around you that can relieve some stress as well, because there's so many people and so many organizations and charities out there that can help you with your food intake and can help you and support you in making sure that you're nutritionally healthy.
Yeah, and if you work for a company, I mean, it depends who you work for as well, but they can sometimes I know the company I have and the company we work for now, they can give you financial advice, like the employee assistance program.
Yes, yeah.
Sort of thing.
So see, even outside of work, there's so many charities that can, even if they don't specifically talk about finances, they have contacts. There's someone out there that can talk you through things, can help you with things. There's like podcasts like this that are actually financial experts that talk through finances. Maybe have a listen on Spotify or YouTube, just have a little flick through. There's so many means of like resources that can help you just to talk through it, and you don't even have to speak to anyone.
Yep, or just like go on. That's what I did. Go on YouTube, read a book. Like honestly, find out what the best financial budgeting savings books are, even if it's for like dummies, and just read that, and it does shift your mindset to a few things.
Yeah,
it's good.
I think it's just about if you don't know, get to know. I think that's what I'll always live by. Like if there's something that I'm not able to do and I need to do it, I don't want to be in a position where I have to ask someone else to do it. So let me just learn it.
Yeah.
Anxiety. It says money can be a safety net. Without it, you may feel vulnerable and anxious, and all of the worrying about unpaid bills or loss of income can trigger anxiety symptoms such as a pounding heartbeat, sweating, shaking, or even panic attacks.
Yeah.
I guess, Sam, you probably maybe experienced this when you were leaving uni?
Not panic attacks or anything like that, I don't think, anyway. It just made me feel a bit like crap, to be honest. Like I'm in debt. Like I can't put how do I say this? So money can't buy you happiness, sort of thing, but debt definitely causes you to be miserable.
And money can clear that debt, so
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of ironic in a way, but it just made me feel like, yeah, I suppose it made me feel anxious. Like maybe I can't buy this month. Like if I spend X amount, am I really going to get out of my debt as quickly as I need to be? But I got out of it fairly quickly because I was very careful with my money. So
I think the last thing that I want to go off on is men are seen to be the breadwinners, and I know that's shifting in society nowadays. I mean, that is majorly changing, but men have always been seen as breadwinners, and even growing up, like us as kids, were probably taught or thought that we should be the ones earning the most amount of money no matter what. I think when you're not in a position where you're earning what you think you would have or should be earning, it can kind of make you feel a little emasculated, because there's so much societal pressure on you that, oh, you're the man of the house, so you should be earning this amount of money, and why aren't you?
And there's nothing wrong with earning less or pretty much equal to your partner. There's nothing wrong with it. You both live under the same household, so you both pay the same bills if that's the way you figured it out.
And there will be times in your life where you aren't at the goal that you probably hoped to be at. Just like with this year and COVID happening, some things are unexpected, so take every day as it comes. And if you are facing financial stress, don't see it as a way that you think that you're less of a person. everybody goes through these things. There are so many financial advisors out there that can help you. Take a step back. If you have to take a step back just to realize that I can't afford these X amount of things, and to actually be happy and live a sustainable life, I need to cut back on a few things. Don't let it make you knock your pride. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I could use that in the example of if you're in don't go for jobs just because they're more money, you know what I mean, sort of thing. Just be more careful with your money. Like, I don't know if I'm translating this properly, but like, if you've got 2 jobs lined up, right? One's 50 grand, but it's in a company that you might not like. You don't agree with the culture. Maybe like your average work day is something miserable. Or you've got like a 25 to 30 grand job, which is everything you want to do. Then I would take the 25 to 30 grand job, because like, do what you love and the money
exactly
will come.
and you'll feel so much happier earning that 30 grand than you will earning the 50 grand, because you won't even feel the success from it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Do what you love and the money will come, because you'll find energy from that, and chances are more opportunities will open up, and there'll be more. You'll probably, in the long run, you probably end up earning more. You don't know.
And as you said at the start of this pod and throughout, like, all of these things are materialistic, the things that we want, kind of thing. So, and it just goes to show, as much as money can alleviate stress, can sort on and fix a lot of problems, it's not the root of happiness.
No, not at all. Like, this is what I say, like, your work, like, using this work example, your work is the majority of your life. So, like, what are you going to use that extra few grand for? To buy like a fat car, like whip or something? Like, no. Like, is that going to bring you happiness, or is going into a job where you're happy and comfortable?
It's all about,
for the majority of your day.
All of this, Sam, is just work-life balance.
Yeah, that's it.
It really is. So hopefully that some of our analogies and points have come across clear to people. I mean, there are a few things that maybe if you want to ask more on, or you feel like we haven't given enough or sufficient amount of information, and you want to do some of your own research, feel free to come back to us with some feedbacks. Maybe we've mentioned something that we shouldn't have, but yeah, no, all feedback is welcome, and hopefully we've helped a few people.
Yeah, remember, we're not, like we said before, we're not financial consultants. This is kind of just like our recommendations and what's worked for us. And like every single topic we dive into, this is just top layer.
Yeah,
shit.
It's personal experiences and how we feel we've benefited or not benefited from certain situations, and the way that we in our minds work, we're trying to relay that to you guys. So this is episode 25. I can't believe we're halfway to 50. It's incredible, Sam.
Yeah, well, hopefully by the time it gets to episode 50, we can do some in-person things.
Yeah, I really do want to develop this podcast a lot more into more of a face kind of thing. But it's been so good to just talk through all of these things, and there's so many people still that reach out that are I'm sure are feeling helped from these things and the benefit from them.
Yeah, didn't you say? Well, luckily our thing was shared on a blog.
Yes. Oh, yes. So I completely forgot. I might actually have to shout this person out, if you don't mind, Sam. Mm-hmm. So there was someone on Twitter that we came across, and she basically put out some content about a blog that she was posting about mental health, and she was getting a lot of case studies from random people from Twitter, guys, females, all sorts. And basically I had messaged her in regards to this, and we got featured in her blog, and she basically she put our links on her blog and stuff. On her socials, she is a diary of a chick spelled CHIK. And this blog was very good, and it was really insightful to read through the way they see depression. But yes, a diary of a chick spelled CHIK. So go feel free to check her socials on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to read the blog, I think it's in her bio. But yeah, it was really nice to have that feature.
Yeah, it was very well written, and I just say, because I haven't really spoken to her, I'll just say from yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's amazing, and it's just little things like these can go a long way.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it just reaches more people. And I think she's from Belfast, which is another audience, and I want our podcast to reach as many people as possible, because I know that there are people out there that could benefit from our conversations and hearing them. I mean, this person that I'm just referencing now, she said that she's related to so many of these podcasts, and this is a random person. It's really nice that we are reaching out to a lot of random people.
It's just, yeah, like I said again, it's just little things like this.
Again, this is episode 25. Hopefully we'll be continuing this. I mean, the pattern may change going forward. It might become a fortnightly thing or a monthly thing, but we'll definitely still be putting content out.
Yeah, it's bloody hard to do because of work and stuff, and it's but we're still going.
Yeah, still going 25 weeks in, and yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I've been Nafis.
I've been Samuel.
Yeah, we'll see you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Honestly, this goes such a long way. I can't stress this enough. Just a simple share can reach so many other people and can help someone that will need it, really. So yeah,
brilliant. Anyway, thanks, mate, and thank you people for listening, and
we'll see you later.